Thank you. Former Chairman Maloney will be here in just a moment. You know, as we work through this, to Dr. Sandy, Dr. Hassett, what is the most important takeaway for us at this moment of time as we move forward from short-term brinksmanship to long-term solutions? What's the most important thing for us to keep in mind?
In my view, that what Congress and the administration are doing now, what Washington is doing right now, is incredibly counterproductive.
I agree.
Just simply get out of the way, do nothing, and we'll be okay. The economy will engage, we'll get a lot more jobs and growth, unemployment will decline, and our long-term fiscal issues won't be solved, but they'll look a lot better.
Dr. Hassett?
You know, I think that when I'm thinking about the cost of things like what we're doing today, I often like to do the thought experiment, well, what if we'd done the right thing in the past? And I would circle back to my earlier comment that if 5 years ago we had sat down and adopted 2 rules, maybe a deficit rule and a spending rule or something like that, and then agreed not to introduce these pockets of high uncertainty, then there might be 2.3 million more Americans working today and a lot fewer long-term unemployed. And so that when we don't address these big policy problems and we let them just sit there and fester, then we do really, really lasting damage to the economy. And it seems sometimes like it's easy to ignore the damage politically, but it really is true that if 5 years ago we had done the right thing, there'd be a couple million more people working today who really need jobs. And so the costs of ignoring this problem are enormous, and we need to do something so that we can get out of this brinksmanship game.
On that uncertainty chart, which is pretty compelling, I think, certainly reinforced back home. Are there other elements that contribute to this uncertainty? Fiscal issues, regulatory issues, tax. I do think the Affordable Care Act has introduced uncertainty both in the healthcare world and along Main Street. Monetary policy is a question we deal with each day. Are there these other elements that we ought to be addressing as well?
You have the measure, so perhaps you could just...
Yeah, it goes beyond the brinkmanship, certainly. And I'm not making any comment on the merits of financial regulatory reform or healthcare reform. In my view, in terms of healthcare reform, there's negatives from a macroeconomic perspective, and there are positives from a macroeconomic perspective, and they wash out. I don't know a professional economist who does this for a living that changed their economic forecast long run because of the passage of healthcare reform. But having said that,
reference to the uncertainty
yes. There is adjustment costs from moving from here to there, and that's what we're feeling right now, and that does create uncertainty, and it makes people nervous in the context of all the other things that are going on. But the political brinkmanship is at this point in time, now the key factor driving this angst, this uncertainty. But you're right, there's other things going on.
And Mr. Brady, I could follow up with your staff that Steve Davis at the University of Chicago, his measure of uncertainty can be decomposed into sub-measures. I think there might be about 10 of them that measure the other kinds of uncertainty and the different types, like fiscal policy versus monetary policy uncertainty, the different types of policy uncertainty that contribute to the overall index, and you can watch how that evolves over time, and we could present a chart to you.
Well, it seems like that index is inverse proportion to our popularity ratings in Congress. As the uncertainty goes up, the other one seems to go down. I don't know if Representative Maloney will make it here today, unless other members wish to inquire. I would like to thank you both.
Thank you, sir.
For being here today. Hugely helpful information. We'd like to keep this discussion on a bipartisan manner going forward. And with that, the hearing is adjourned.